A lot of business owners think that building systems is going to be this time-consuming, expensive task, and that at the end of the day, the team isn't going to use it anyway, so it's just a big time suck. That was me too. In fact, I did do that and my team wasn't using them. And then I questioned, why did I even do this in the first place? But here's what I learned. A system only works if your team actually uses them. And when they do, everything will change. One of our clients saved $60,000 after putting systems in place because the team realized how inefficient they were being. Another client saved 15 hours per week after putting systems in place. Again, they were able to figure out, wow, we're spending way more time over here when we should be putting it over in this specific area of the business. Now, that is the power of having the right systems in place. In fact, we focus on two systems here: money-making systems and time-saving systems. And you should be getting one result, if not both, when you put the right systems into place. And in case you don't know who I am, my name is Stacy Tuschl. I've been in business for over 23 years, producing over 8 figures in annual revenue. And I teach business owners how to systematize their business so their business runs without them. Tip number 1 is involve your team in the creation process. I work with hundreds of small business owners, and the number one reason they don't have systems in their business is because they're too busy to create them. The good news is you, my friend, do not have to create them yourself. It's actually better to get the team member involved that actually is producing the system. So what does it look like to get them involved? Well, number 1, you have to always explain the why behind it. No one is going to be excited to hear you want to systematize the business so that if you have to fire them, you just bring on their replacement and they're going to be good to go. They're not going to want to hear that. What I tell people is, listen, I have seen situations where somebody unexpectedly has something bad happen, right? So we had somebody whose appendix burst, okay? Now, she'd been with me for over a decade. Do you know how many systems were maybe in her head or could have been in her head, right? But what happened was this emergency popped up. She was completely out. Her husband actually called to say, hi, she's not doing well. She's going to be out for minimum 2 weeks, right? So we couldn't even speak to her for even a second to say, what do you need to do today? Okay. Now, the good news is this what happened in the last few years where we already systematized. So it was okay. We had her playbook ready to go of everything she does Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, etc. We knew, okay, it's a Wednesday. We've got to get her Wednesday systems complete. That is where we want to get you. So when you tell your team, listen, something could happen unexpectedly, use my story. Now, it's funny is I just did this presentation on stage and I shared it and my friend messaged me after and said, oh my goodness, we had our appendix story. Something happened with one of my team members whose daughter broke her arm and she was out and she had to run. And because of hearing that, like we have the system set up. So I really want you to start teaching them, listen, not only could something unexpected happen, but I want you to take vacations when you're working here. And I want those vacations to be enjoyable. I want you to go and not have to be pinged or text messaged or, hey, how do you do this? Or I'm locked out of the system. What do we do here? No. I want you on vacation and I want you clocking out and I want you completely enjoying vacation. When they hear those kinds of why we need systems, they start to go, yeah, that would be kind of nice, okay? So get them involved in the actual creation of the system. So a really great way to do this is ask, well, what is on their job description? Do they have a job description? You might need to start there. What are they actually doing, right? And then what's nice is when you look at that job description, every single thing that says like, let's say it's a social media manager, posts 3 times a day or whatever it says, right? Okay, well, great. Now, how do we hyperlink that, right? And actually send that over to here's how you do it. Maybe it's a video or it's written, right? But actually having them show, okay, here are all the things I do. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Here are things I do only once a week, only once a month, only once a quarter, once a year. And it's just documented so that we can go in and check and see, okay, where do we go from here? What do we do next? Now, as a business owner, yes, we also want systems in case we have to fire them. Or if they quit unexpectedly, training the new person is going to be a breeze. One of the things I like to ask is, if you are on vacation starting tomorrow for the next 7 days, what would you need to teach me so that we can't tell you are missing from the company? And that's going to have them start really grasping, what do I need to document and get on paper? The goal is get it out of everybody's head onto paper. And I don't mean physical paper, I mean digital paper. Also, when they help build it, they're more likely to follow it. Number 2 is keep it simple, clear, and visual. If this thing looks like an IRS document, right, they are not gonna go actually look through it. And then they're gonna still interrupt you all day, every day when they need something. So we want them to know that they've got something really easy they can quickly go to and find the answer. So what does that look like? Well, first of all, we don't want paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, right? Think bullet points, check boxes, make it easy for them to skim. Another thing is you want to ask, well, where am I putting these systems in place, right? So I want to make sure that all of my systems are in a place that has a searchable function. So for instance, if I go to a Google Doc, right? I think, is it Control F or something like that, right? Where you can, or maybe it's Command F, tell me in the comments what it is. But when you do it, you can actually put in a word, right? So if I am looking for email responses or how I respond to a specific email, I can maybe type in the word email, right? And anytime the word email is in there, it's gonna pop up. So you really wanna have something fast that they can run and jump to. So I love a good Google Doc. Plus, a Google Doc has an overview feature as well, so you can see it on that left side. But also a project management software should have another great way to be able to quickly research. Systems can look like one-page PDFs. They can also be short Loom videos. So we record a lot of our trainings right on Loom, okay? L-O-O-M, different than Zoom, okay? So with that said, just make sure that you are the owner of the main Loom account. Why? Because I've had business owners who have their marketing person set the Loom account up, right? And then that person quits or they get fired and that Loom account, all of a sudden that email isn't even active. You want to make sure that you are the owner. Maybe that's the info@email or your personal email is tied to the Loom. So when the company is using it, you're not losing videos. We one time had a contractor start systematizing and she was starting to do all of her video trainings on her Loom account. And I said, hold up. What if all of a sudden one day she goes out of business or she doesn't want to pay for Loom anymore? All of those videos are erased immediately. So be really, really careful where you're putting them. But I am a fan of short, quick videos. After you make a video, you can transcribe what it is. Now, the reason I like starting with a video is because think of the opposite. If I start with a Google Doc, right? I might say, okay, step 1, do this. And then all of a sudden, step 2, I'm thinking, oh, okay, then I do that. But really, if I was recording myself and I'm using my mouse, I might have missed that, well, you have to click this button for this to pop up. So usually the video is going to be more detailed and it's not going to skip steps. Sometimes written documents are not that good. We recently acquired a business and they had everything systematized. But when we went to start digging into their systems, some of the systems were in a Google Doc and it would say, check email. Well, what email? Where's the login for the email? How do I get there? But because it was just written down, right, it looked like a complete system until we needed to access it. And then it was missing pieces. So if she would have videotaped herself and said, okay, we need to log into email, she would have gone and clicked the website and then typed in the username. We would have seen that information. So sometimes videos can be way more thorough and you won't miss anything. So the bottom line is keep it skimmable. If your team cannot find it fast, they're going to realize you are faster to interrupt and just get the answer. And you're not going to have people actually using these systems. Tip number 3 is tie it to the why and the KPI. Now, before I said, make sure they know why they're creating systems. This goes a little deeper. Now we want to talk about why are we creating this system? Why do we actually do it this way? So you always want to make sure that your system shares the outcome and then specifically what it does. You might say something like, this system improves client retention by 20%. You want them to understand, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Is it really necessary? Is it really important? Also, when you share the why we're doing it, sometimes somebody will say, but wait, can't we do it this way faster? So you want to make sure that we're not forgetting what the outcome is. I remember I was doing something on the computer and I was trying to log in to Dropbox. And then all of a sudden it needed my Gmail account. And then I'm sitting over here trying to get my Gmail account and I'm like doing all of these things. And then all of a sudden I was like, but wait a minute. the Dropbox password is over here. I don't need Gmail. Like I had to remember like, what was I actually doing, right? Because all of a sudden you can get into these micro commitments and you're doing something you don't even need to be doing to solve that problem. So when you share what the outcome is, sometimes somebody's going to step up and say, hey, I think we're being inefficient here. But if they don't know the end result, they're just going to do what you're saying and you're going to overpay for inefficiency. When they understand the results, a lot of times they respect the system a whole lot more. So sometimes people think this is tedious. Why are they making us do this? This is just stupid. I feel like we're repeating ourselves, right? But when we say, listen, we used to do it this way and received this outcome. Whenever we stepped it up and started doing this system, this number increased by XYZ, right? All of a sudden they're like, oh, that makes sense. You made more money with the new system. Of course we want to do this system versus the old route. Tip number 4 is make it a living system. Gone are the days where you have physical manuals and binders. And I've been in business long enough that yes, we definitely had a physical binder at my desk where we would pull it out and we'd have to go and search. Now remember, when it's physical, I can't just quickly type in a specific word and find it. I got to go through page after page after page. And the longer you're in business and the more successful you are, your playbooks are going to get more and more and more in depth. And you're not going to have time to sit here and scroll through to page 72. Okay. So we definitely want to make sure that we are making it a living document. So what does that mean? Well, gone are the days of physical. We are now definitely in a digital world. So everything should be somewhere on the internet, okay? Now, I'll tell you, I have a physical brick and mortar location, but we have 3 locations. So we don't want location 1 having something that's now having to be edited, right? And then, oh, hey, location 2, you got to edit this page too. We want it on the internet, right? We want it on the cloud, I should say, so that when somebody updates it, it updates it for everybody. In my other business in Well Oiled, we are remote. So we 1000% need a digital version that we can go in and update. Now, you'll want to make sure that you know who has access versus who has editing access, right? So what's nice is if you make it in a Google Doc, you can give the manager or the leader an editable access, right? They can go in and edit the document, but you can give the rest of the employees or contractors viewing access. This is huge because some people, you want them to see it, but you do not want them to go in and all of a sudden edit something because they think it's faster and the manager doesn't know. So on my team, all of my leaders are able to edit their playbooks in their department. If I were to let customer success see the marketing playbook for some reason, I would only give them viewer access. You want to make sure there's only one cook in the kitchen for the system. That doesn't mean other team members can't play a part or make suggestions, but you only want one person owning it. Because if you just say, these are our systems and they're for all of us and we're all in charge, when everyone's in charge, no one is in charge. And you want somebody owning this as their baby and that they're responsible for making updates, edits, keeping it relevant and in real time. When you start to have the reputation of the playbooks aren't updated, they're really dated, we don't really use them, what's going to happen is your team is going to talk and no one is going to use them anymore. They're going to just go right to the manager, the leader, or the owner and say, hey, what about this? We need people to know these are living, breathing documents. We use them every day. Before you ever interrupt your direct report, the person you report to, please check the playbook first, okay? When I say the word playbook, it's simply, this is how we do things here. This is how sales is done. This is how marketing is done. This is the way we do things in customer success, right? It is truly our playbook, the way that we play in our business. And when people know the system is actually real and updated, they will use it more often. So how often should you review these systems? Well, number 1, if they're living, breathing documents you're using all of the time, a lot of times your team is prompting it because they're saying, hey, I checked this and this isn't in there. Or, hey, I checked this and this is definitely dated. And they're supposed to, you want to tell them, actually tell your manager. If you see something, say something, let us know. We want to make sure we update these so they are accurate. Now you'll see that they'll start to get updated pretty naturally all the time, okay? But there may be some systems you aren't using as often that you may want to revisit every quarter or every year, depending on what it is. Tip number 5 is train and retrain. Retrain is the key word. A lot of business owners say, I taught them that. I already told them that in onboarding. I don't get it. They're not listening or they're not getting it. Leaders are repeaters. We do not train one time, okay? We train one time as we onboard in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And as they ask questions, we refer back to the playbook. So when they say, hey, Stacy, how do we do, right? I might open up my Google Doc and share my screen and say, and I'm like literally showing them how I'm finding the answer. So even though I might know the answer in my head, and it's super easy to say, oh, you just do this. I am showing them where to find it, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen, grab the playbook, I'm gonna type in that word, it's gonna start showing me where it is. It's like, oh, right here. Okay, let's review this together. And when they see me or their manager actually using the playbook, it's gonna show them, wow, we really use playbooks here. Good to know. Even if you have these systems in your head and you know what you're doing, I would constantly be pulling them out. And pulling them out because when I'm going step by step, number one, it's just good for making sure we're not skipping steps, right? Or do I need to update these systems specifically? So the more you pull them out, right? The more you are pulling them out in front of your team, you're retraining them over and over and over. And the power of rinsing and repeating is going to help them really get this in their head. A lot of team members, when they come into your organization, they're overwhelmed. I mean, they should be overwhelmed. You're teaching them a brand new business, a new product they've never sold before, right? They may not know what you do, or they may have no experience in your industry. They are learning everything on day one. And you told them one time, one thing in a 30-second convo, and you're confused why they're not getting it, which is why you need to state over and over and over. Sometimes as I'm training a new team member, I might have a Monday meeting with an agenda. And next Monday, it's a possibility I do the exact meeting again, okay? I remember I was preparing our customer success team for an in-person event we were doing. And I had an agenda. I read through everything and I trained. And the next week I said, okay, I'm not training on anything new. I am training on what I trained on last week. I pulled up my Google Doc. I showed it so they knew, hey, if you've got questions, it's right here. You've got access to this document. And I retrained. And it was crazy how many questions I had on the second training, just 7 days later, okay? And it just shows you your team is drinking water out of a fire hose. How can you help them? They're only catching a little bit the first time. So how do we rinse and repeat a second time? Let them catch a little bit more. Rinse and repeat a third time. Let them catch it a little bit more, okay? The more that you have documented, the more that they can go back and reference. If you're just teaching from memory and you're just talking and you're verbally sharing how to do certain things and they're taking notes, they're not grasping it all. And then what happens is they leave you, right? And they have to do the job and they're like, oh no, I don't remember what she said after number 2 or step number 2, right? Now, they may bug you, but they also might feel like, but I shouldn't bug her because she taught me how to do this and I wrote it down. So they're either gonna interrupt you or they're not gonna interrupt you and possibly do it wrong. So you really wanna make sure this is documented. Maybe you're recording that video, putting it in writing, someplace they can go back and reference it later. When somebody asks a question, the first question you should say is, great question, have you referenced the playbook? Have you checked the systems yet, right? Start getting them trained on where you go first before you come to me. Tip number 6 is build systems into their routines. We don't want to be throwing all these things at them on top of their existing job. It's gonna feel like a lot. But if you build in end of day checklists, end of week reports, right? Something they do every Monday or every last day of the month. You start to what they call habit stack, right? Into their existing day and let them see these spreadsheets, checklists, etc. It's going to make it a whole lot easier. So ask yourself, what are specific rhythms? So maybe every morning they start their workday with a checklist and making sure they get their morning routine done. Maybe there's something before they head to lunch, right? Or they kick back off after lunch, or they end their workday, or they end a Friday. What do you want them to start to do? For me specifically, we do something called routines versus projects, okay? Every person on our team has daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual routines. So every one of my employees knows, okay, on Monday, here are my routines. Well, those routines are systems, right? Step by step, how they go and check the email, respond to customer inquiries, whatever it is, right? Check Instagram 3 times a day. When I say check Instagram 3 times a day, there should be written systems behind what does it mean to check Instagram? How do I check Instagram? How do I respond to Instagram, etc. So when you make it part of their daily, weekly, monthly, etc. routine versus an add-on, it's going to feel like a lot less overwhelming. Putting it in routines is going to make their life easier. Putting something on top of what they're already doing just feels like another thing that they don't know where to put this in or when to put it in. And we want to streamline in order to scale. Tip number 7, and this is a big one, catch them doing right. People repeat what gets rewarded. So the more you shine a light on specific behaviors and activities, the more people are going to start to say, wow, okay, I want to be somebody getting called out. I want to be somebody that's getting rewarded or getting bonuses based off of this. So how can you start to build that into your culture? So last week, we just held an event, 2-day event in person, and I wasn't there. And in fact, what was really cool is I used to do this event, let's say. Then all of a sudden, my right hand took it over, right? This time we had somebody else take it over. So there was no interruptions. Nobody called me. Nobody needed me. The clients raved about this event. Every one of them got the outcome they came for, okay? So on the Monday huddle, we shouted out, hey guys, not only did I not need to be there, right? My right hand did not need to lead it for this to happen. We are no longer people reliant. We are process reliant. Like our process works, and here is proof. So big thanks to Peter for using the process and delivering for our clients, right? Now, Peter is starting to train the rest of the team so that we can continuously put on this event in high volume versus before it could never have been me that often. Now we get to over deliver and serve our clients at the highest level because we are a process reliant team and not a person or people reliant team. Now remember, systems are only as strong as the people who are using them. So you've got to start to ask, why are we struggling with systems? Do I not have the right people using them? If you're bringing out a system and saying, hey, here is how we do it, this is how I want to get done, and you're getting pushback, right? Is somebody here out of alignment with company values? If they've been able to do whatever they want for as long as they want, and you haven't been saying anything because you've been too busy, and now you're like, hold up, we're going to do it this way, and they don't want to do it this way, it is possible you're going to get friction, you're going to get heads butting, right? And it's even possible that now that you're really stepping up as a new level of CEO, you may realize I've got the wrong people, not just in the wrong seats, but they shouldn't be on this bus, right? So we really need to look at, do I have the right people? Okay, maybe you have the right people, but you have the wrong systems. So we really need to figure out that balance there because we need great systems, but we need good people, right? Good people that can help with these systems. That's how you're going to start to become more well-oiled. So the bottom line is, let's actually create systems that people actually use and that move the needle in your business. And if you want the exact system that I use to go from 100K to over 1 million, I've got a video showing you how to scale your business to 7 figures. Click here to watch now.